I feel like I say this a lot, but let's be honest here. I have been transmitting episodes to your world for nearly 5 years now. So when I say that long-time viewers will remember this episode, it's probably true. Also, by the way, the episode I'm about to reference is literally still the most visited episode we have, and it was only our second. And thanks to me not fully understanding YouTube's copyright systems at the time I uploaded it, it's not monetized. Mistakes were made. But regardless, yes, our most popular episode and our second episode, and I can't decide what that has to say about our YouTube channel in general, is about the Star Fury from Babylon 5. But we're not actually here to talk about the Star Fury. We're not, in fact, here to talk about any of the variants of the Star Fury. And there were quite a few of those. Instead, we're here to talk about something that is related to the Star Fury that you saw all over the place in Babylon 5 and probably didn't pay the slightest bit of attention to. Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards, where no ship is safe from being taken down to its nuts and bolts. And no, I'm not actually going to link you back to the original episode. It was not great. I had not put together my concept of the channel yet. I had absolutely horrible audio translation software going on and translation hardware at that, and it was just a hot mess. You can go find it if you want to, but I am definitely not going to link you to it. But I did mention that there are multiple versions of the Star Fury, and I am still technically correct. There is the Aurora class, which is what everyone knows and loves. It is the Mark I Mod 0 Star Fury, although that's not technically correct, but different episode perhaps. There was the Badger class, which is a very not terribly known class of Star Fury that happened during the Earth-Minbari War that basically had a turret strapped onto the back of it. Exciting times. Basically, the Humies knew they were being chased down by superior Minbari fighters, so they strapped a gun and a gunner onto the back of the Aurora class and ran with that. Didn't work so well. And then in the end, there was the Thunderbolt class Star Fury. This thing is an absolute beast. The previous versions of the Star Furies were limited to exo-atmospheric only, whereas the Thunderbolt was atmospheric capable and had a burnt gun. So it is by far and away the superior Star Fury. And along the way, I suppose there was the Omega Squadron from Psy-Corps, but technically they just ran highly customized and moderately upgraded Aurora-class Star Furies themselves, and it was really the pilots that made the difference there of them being more capable than the average Star Fury ship. So we'll just kind of pass them off as an Aurora Mark II. Okay? Fine. But, like I said, we're not here to talk about the Star Fury today. Instead, we're here to talk about a Fury that was everywhere during the Babylon project, always in the background of every external, B-roll scene of the Babylon 5 station. And again, like I said, you probably never noticed it. Because it was, in fact, the venerable and ubiquitous Construction Fury. And yes, that is actually its canonical name. I don't know what the Earth Alliance's fixation on the Fury naming concept is about. Furies in your mythology and mythological history are not really good things, and maybe not things you should be messing around with, but I guess Star Furies are different, and Construction Furies are very, very different. You see, while the Star Fury fighter itself had 4 independent engine pods that had both forward and rear exhaust ports, and each of those engine pods had some number of thrusters on them, typically 2, and typically they went either up or down, or left or right, and basically this massive combination of redonkulous number of thrusters and engines pointing in every direction possible gave the Star Fury its terrifying degree of agility. Well, the Construction Fury took that concept and kind of halved it, like literally. The Construction Fury just has the two wings, and they're not even wings. They're basically pylons that go out from the central structure, and they have the usual Star Fury-esque engine that has one exhaust port forward and one exhaust port rear. But then the Construction Fury has top, outboard, and bottom thrusters in addition to just the engine thrusters. So fundamentally, with a little more computer jiggering and a little more exhaust use, you have nearly the same degree of maneuverability as the Star Fury itself. In fact, pilots who have flown both argue that the Construction Fury is actually more maneuverable than the Star Fury itself. I'm not sure I see how, but maybe it's just easier to figure out intuitively, perhaps. Not sure. But that's what the pilots say. Beyond that, this little dork has nearly the same cockpit configuration as the Star Fury itself, and I really don't know why. Because, I mean, the entire, Construction Fury fleet is operated by a heavily unionized longshoreman operation on Babylon 5 that not only has no overlap with the military side of the house, but basically hates the military side of the house. I have to assume it's basically just commonality of parts and simplification of maintenance, because the possibility of a pilot of a Star Fury or a pilot of a Construction Fury instead operating the other vehicle is really, really low. So again, it's probably just parts commonality or something like that. Anyways, it has basically the same cockpit configuration where the pilot is standing up, quote unquote, because there is no gravity in these little tiny boats that the Earth Alliance tosses out into space. And they have the same basic control configuration inside, but instead of the pulse cannons directly beneath the cockpit that are the Star Fury's primary and main weapon system, instead the Construction Fury has a number of manipulators, which it uses to move cargo around and move repair materials around and basically carry and move around everything that needs to be carried and move around outside of the Babylon 5 station itself. And you frequently see these little dorks outside patching up the hull or moving around cargo pods or just doing what needs done on the outside of Babylon 5 because, yeah, they got manipulators, they got a pretty good control thruster suite, so they do what needs done. In fact, between the Star Fury and the Construction Fury itself, apparently in 1995, J. Michael Straczynski received a number of inquiries from folks associated with NASA about the prospect of perhaps someday actually building working Star Furies, mainly as the space industry equivalent to forklifts and heavy loaders. When he was asked about this later on in 2009, he indicated he hadn't heard anything new about this in several years. And obviously, NASA hasn't been a whole big deal about building new spacecraft in the intervening orbits and all. But still, I mean, they make a lot of sense, don't they? You got a massive lever arm which increases your torsional force and requires you to use very little actual thrust force out of the ends. And then they have actually very powerful engines, even the Construction Furies, to the point where they can move around large, heavy cargo pods with fairly simple ease. And I know that I'm probably not going to be able to show you the clips of this actually happening because they simply were just like the between the main scenes 5-second clips that always happened in nearly every single Babylon 5 episode when they were filling in space between shots or between commercial breaks or whatever the hell else. And as much as I would love to, I'm just not going to watch the entirety of Babylon 5 again just to get enough clips to populate this episode. But trust me, if you go back and watch the episode yourself, you'll see them everywhere once you start looking for them. I mean, seriously, the only thing more populous around the Babylon 5 station were those silly little camera drones that were simply everywhere, and most of the time you didn't see them because you were simply seeing from their perspective. So that, I guess, changes the equation a little bit. But really, what's not to love? You've got powerful engines on long moment arms with manipulator arms in the middle. And the Hume's at the center, so his torsional and rotational forces are minimized. Don't get this thing spinning too fast, otherwise you might yak. And beyond that, as long as you have a light touch on the controls, you can pick up and carry around whatever the hell you want. And then judging from, again, the clip scenes that, again, I'm probably not going to dig up, these things have a number of tools that they can carry around to do, again, maintenance and repair on the external of the station. You see them with blow torches and welding things and all kinds of other stuff like that. They're basically the worker bees of the Babylon 5 station, and yes, in fact, we will do an episode about worker bees later on, but still, it's this level of detail, this level of attention that actually sells the Babylon 5 universe as a whole. It's not just a black box of like cargo ships show up and then they drop off their stuff somehow and then they disappear. Oh no, there's actually like a 0G transfer area at the front of the Babylon 5 station where things like these construction Furies take care of moving the cargo pods on and off the cargo ships. And then if they want to unload inside of simulated gravity, for example, if they have passengers on board, the ships can dock at the central port of the station itself, go down to one of the actual docking bays under spin, and at about like half a G, walk their people right off. To his credit, J. Michael Straczynski put a lot of thought into Babylon 5, and the Construction Furies are a perfect example of exactly that. And still, you just kind of have to love them for the name, right? And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the docks for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube at the owner's expense. Have a nice day.